What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy Podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss, alongside Nico Takalakis. And today we'll be discussing UFC 317 Topuria versus Oliveira that went down Saturday night in Las Vegas. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll go through the card, analyze all the big fights, and discuss all the compelling future matchups. Then we'll also deep dive the heavyweight division after the Jon Jones fallout and analyze what's next for the newly crowned champ, Tom Aspinall. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get rolling. Boom. So before we get to the card, let's just take a look at this clean shot here. Topuria, Pantoja both handled business last night. Of course, Topuria in more spectacular fashion, but just a great night of fights. And this is just, the future of the sport. We've been talking about this. These guys are part of this new unbelievable future. I was speechless last night. So speaking of that, let's just take a look at this goddamn card. UFC 317, Topuria, Oliveira. I had been bashing this card, Nico. I had been bashing it, and Wally was wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. Topuria did stand up. He can go to lightweight. He handled business in spectacular fashion, and I gotta say, I haven't felt this type of MMA UFC feeling since maybe Connor. And I'm not a Topuria guy yet, but I'm just saying the buzz, the feel, the knockout heard around the world. This could be a McGregor type meteoric rise, or maybe the beginning of one of the greatest careers we've ever seen. I still think he's a little bit undersized at lightweight, and I'm going to hold that because one day that's going to come back to haunt him, because Oliveira did look bigger. Okay, but let's save all that for the main event. I just wanted to set the stage.
But true, Ari, just to say, it is a tectonic shift in the sport, what occurred last night. You haven't felt the likes of that rumble since McGregor. It truly was a turn in the sport, and I do believe Topuria is the real deal, and we're in a new era.
Yes. So with that, let's unpack the card. We're going to go straight to the main card, go through the fights. Talbott, Lima, it started the night. And I got to say, I took Lima, right? Because I remember Talbott had been wrestled by Barcelos. That seemed to be his Achilles heel, this new rising star. Okay. So I thought Lima was going to do the same thing. And I got to say, my game plan was there. I didn't realize Talbott was going to be this much better and advance that much since January. Even Cormier and Rogan were shocked by this. I'll just break it down and then I'll get your take here, Nico. So round one, Lima does go for the takedowns. He goes for it, and Talbott, holy crap, he's able to stuff them, and he even gets on top a couple times. And Cormier was almost falling out of his chair, being like, I can't believe how much better Talbott looks in the grappling. This is shocking. So Talbott ends up getting round one. Round two, more of the same. I think Talbott looked even better. He had better strikes. He was able to defend the takedown again, win in the grappling exchanges. He was just really confidently rolling in the transitions, and everybody was like, holy crap, this is the new guy here. And then in round three, Lima looks like he's finally squeaking around. He gets better shots. He even gets a takedown, and I'm like, okay, this is what I thought should have happened throughout the fight. And then I think Talbott even reverses him late in the third round and maybe even steals the third round also. So he gets the unanimous. And I got to say now, this is always what I'm saying about Holland and Lewis. It's like, they don't seem like they get better. They don't address the grappling. And then the next fight's the same thing. Talbott looks like he did address it. And he's only 26 years old. Maybe he's young enough and he's in the gyms. That's why mixed martial arts is so special, because you can advance your grappling, boom, while you're training for the next fight. And now he has a real shot. If people can't take him down anymore, and then you got to stand with them, that's a real problem. That's all I'll say here. What do you think about this?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. What Talbott demonstrated, the evolution of his grappling from January, is remarkable. What we witnessed in real time, we expected. He's a sponge. He's 26 years old, and he showed how he can adapt, and he adapted very quickly. And what I was most impressed by was round one. We forget that Talbott got hit, but he was able to maintain composure, and his poise in the ring, that to me was outstanding. And so when he got taken down, he reversed it. time and time again throughout the fight, and he held that poise and that confidence throughout, that he did get a dominant win. I think it was a dominant win. It could have been 3-0 there, to your point, at least 2-1, but maybe 3-0 there. Very impressive. Talbott is a star in the making. He has the cachet. He's good for the cameras. He's good for the UFC. So this was a big night for him on the big stage.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Richie boy, no stars in the UFC. Come on, baby. There's Talbott rising right now, a new contender at bantamweight. Look out for him. You know, it's early in the year. It's only June. He's definitely going to get 1 or 2 more big fights this year. We might even see him crack the top 15. Okay, let's move on here, Nico. Let's keep it rapid fire. What a fight here. 9 in the world. Dariush, our guy, back from 2 years against Moicano, a very game-scary number 11 in the world at lightweight. I got to say, we both had the balls to take Dariush, but I was very worried about this because Moicano had been on that run until he finally loses to Islam, right? But everybody loses to Islam. So we thought maybe Moicano, because he had been more hot, he's going to run through a Dariush. And I got to say, Dariush showed up amazingly well in round 1. He had the better kicks. Everybody's like, man, even Rogan had to stop a couple of times and said, wow, Dariush looks good here, right? And I even had said it in the pre-fight analysis. Maybe he just needed that time to rest, to get over the losses to Oliveira and Tarzukian, right? He looks better. He's winning round 1, but then Moicano drops him with a straight right to steal round 1. And I was like, oh God, here we go again. But what an amazing turn of events. Dariush comes out in round 2, and then he smartly goes to the grappling. And he wears him down. And it takes him about 2 minutes to get a takedown. And he finally gets it. And then, boom, he tires Moicano out. He's able to take him down, hold him down. He gets some ground and pound in. He wins the round. He changes the whole fight. And then Moicano's just not the same. He barely throws the entire third. Dariush strikes him. He grapples him again. And then he gets the easy unanimous. He's back, baby. And he's only 36. We're acting like he's super old. I don't know about a title run, but now he's still maintains the number 9. He's going to get a 6, a 5, a 4 guy next. I'm very excited for one last run from Dariush. What do you say here, baby?
Don't let the gray hair fool you. Okay? He's got a little life in him, and he's always been a very fearsome contender here, and I still think he's got something in him. He showed it last night, and honestly, the reason I went with Dariush was more about Moicano. I felt like after the Islam fight, just something was lost. He just kind of gave up. And I felt I saw that in the 3rd round. He barely threw a punch the entire 3rd round. I couldn't believe my eyes. I don't know what happens. I stand here not being in the ring, right? So I don't know what it's like to be in that 3rd round. But when you're not throwing anything and you're basically, it almost feels like you're giving up on the fight. You're going to lose. They're going to lose. So he did have a standout moment, but all around, Beneil Dariush is a well-rounded fighter. It showed here on the feet and on the ground. Very exciting for him. And I want to see, I think he's got another shot with like a 4 or 5, like you said. And if he can get that win, he might have one more attempt right at the title.
Very possible.
Very
I love
possible.
that win. We both nailed it. Richie took Moicano. Bad move. Let's move on. Maybe the fight of the night. Royval, definitely one of the greatest flyweight fights in history. Royval, the number 1 contender in the world at flyweight. Josh Van just beat Bruno Silva 3 weeks ago. He went from 14 in the world. Then he went to 12 in the world. And then on short notice, because of the cop injury, he jumps in. And I had said, watch out for Van in like 2 shows ago.
Right.
And we were saying, watch out for this kid, not thinking he's going to get this fight. He comes in and oh my God. Remember I was texting last night, Nico, saying, all right, Wally is finally a flyweight guy, because what a fight. They almost broke the record for most strikes landed. It was like 400 plus, and it was only a 3-round fight, right?
Wow.
So let's talk about this. Van has so much confidence. He's only 23 years old. Royval has fought for multiple titles. The balls of this kid, and the confidence and the gusto to come in and be able to go against the #1 contender on 3 weeks' notice is unbelievable. So if you break down the fight, Royval came to fight. He came to win because Dana had said this became a #1 contender match, right? And Royval knew that, and he wanted his revenge against Pantoja. So he came in with a lot of strikes, a lot of volume, but instantly Van not scared in the pocket, cracking him right back that entire first round. And his blows were always more impactful. Royval was in it, don't get me wrong, but was like, boom, this kid, he's not scared of anybody, man. He takes round 1 in my eyes. Then Royval turns up the engine in round 2, realizing, oh my God, I can't lose to this 23-year-old kid and lose my title shot. And so he has good volume. I say you just barely give it to Royval. And then round 3, flyweight gods came upon us. And what a brawl. Royval was up because his jab, the thing that kept him in the fight was that damn jab. He had the length that Van didn't have. But Van just kept coming back with monumental strikes and aggressively hanging in there. He's never scared. He never wilted. And then it came down near the final minute. I think Van might have won even without the knockdown because he cracked him with some really great shots. But then with like 30 seconds to go, he gets the knockdown. I lost my mind. Our top fan, Benji, he was also losing it for his boy Van. Call out to Din here. He does it. He wins 29-28, unanimous. And now he was even sitting there. What a moment for him, being able to go into the octagon later and have a standoff against Pantoja. What do you say here, Nico?
Incredible moment for this young star, Joshua Van, that Ari, you did call out. We both did that. Wow. This is a star in the making here. And now he had his opportunity in a heartbeat. He shows up. Now, listen, this was the story of this fight was volume versus power. Volume from Royval, power from Van, and Royval. I could argue you could give it to him. I think you could give Royval in a very closely contested bout. It depends how the judges went with this. But listen, when you got this 23-year-old kid in there throwing such power, very impactful shots, dramatic shots, and that knockdown at the end, I think it went over to the edge.
That solidified it.
That was the difference maker. And overall, Brandon Royval very much impressed me as well because the guy would not stop. He was a relentlessly pursuing Van, but Van always would counter with these amazing shots, powerful shots. Great night. I cannot wait to see what happens there for Pantoja's defense versus Vaughn. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on, is this is finally, I got my way of significant strikes versus impactful strikes. If you probably looked at the numbers, Royval landed more, but he wasn't doing the impactful big shots. That was Van. So take this to the Caribbean, Richie. Okay, remember this, baby, because this was real impactful strikes and it went the right way. Okay, Pantoja, Cara France. I love how you have the contender fight nicely followed up by the flyweight title fight. So once again, Pantoja versus #4 contender in the world, Cara France. Now, it was pretty much a clinic by Pantoja, right? Because Cara France has unbelievable heavy hands for the division. He's knocked out a lot of people. He knocked out Erzeg, and Erzeg took Pantoja to the brink. So if you're doing the MMA math, you thought, okay, this is going to be a great fight. But Pantoja knew he had the advantage on the ground. Right from round 1, he actually, what a great game plan, because he came in and he threw strikes just to get Cara France to throw back, and then boom, level change and got the takedown, which Cormier called out. Then the rest of the round was like, oh my God, he had him for 4 minutes in a body lock. He tired him out. He kind of ruined the confidence of Cara France. And they were talking about, man, if you're underneath for an entire round, your arms get heavy. You're never going to have the power that you did have. However, in round 2, he does get taken down again, but he gets back up and there's plenty of time. And then I thought Cara France started looking good. He was a little awkward with his movements and his shots because he didn't want to overthrow to get taken down again. But Pantoja almost looked tired. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Maybe Nico and Rich have a shot for the upset. And I was rooting Cara France, but Pantoja was smart. He was just, resting a little bit. He was getting his strength back. And then boom, in round 3, goes right for it again. Cara France has no chance and then gets his unbelievable submission. He does it again, and now he's on a monumental run. I had to look this up, but he's won like 7 straight. He hasn't lost since 2020. It's an unbelievable run. We now have to start thinking of one of the flyweight greats right near Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson. And now it's really the more exciting thing. Yes, it's disappointment for Kara France, but the bigger story is Van Pantoja. But the thing is, I don't know if Van has the wrestling. I thought they said, though, during the telecast that Van did have a wrestling background, but he chooses to throw the hands, but I couldn't find it online, so I got to do more research. But I like Pantoja. Van, what do you have to say here in this fight?
All I'll say to this is I was a little disappointed in Kara France's performance. I really thought more of him coming into this fight. I'm actually a fan of his, and I feel he's gotten robbed in a couple decisions in the past. I thought this was his opportunity, and I think Pantoja just sapped his energy, as you alluded to, Ari.
Yeah.
He sapped his energy with his takedown and with his ground game, and ultimately Kara France just kind of wasn't there in a way that impressed. And honestly, Alexander Pantoja is for real. He put on a clinic. There was a couple of moments in the second round he got a little sloppy.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe that he was tired. But all around, it was almost like he's evolved to a next level right now. He might be. And is he eyeing a move up in weight class potentially, Ari?
Maybe.
Don't forget that. But I do want to see the Pantoja Van fight before he even dares to think about going up here, because that would rob the fan base of a great, exciting matchup. So congrats to Pantoja. Kara France, it wasn't your night, and it ultimately just came down to the ground game.
And just to address what you said here, Nico, I think he's come out recently and said he's not going to move to bantamweight. I think he just doesn't have the size, honestly. I think he's a perfect height. He's definitely even a shorter flyweight, right? Like him and Van are the shorter level of the flyweights. I mean, maybe eventually if he keeps beating everybody one day, but do you really want to go up and face Merab? I don't think anybody does, even a Pantoja.
I would love to see that, sir.
I don't think he's big enough, because the jump from fly to bantamweight can be, even though it's just 10 pounds, it can be big time. Only like you see Cejudo and Dillashaw used to do it. Okay, main event, lightweight, title of the world, the knockout, heard around the world. Ilia Topuria, the ex-featherweight champ, moving up. Charles Oliveira, the old lightweight champ, and they're here to do battle. And man, I had been kind of bashing this fight for a while and been like, it's not a main event fight. And I didn't really believe in Topuria after the Volk. I should have after the Volk, after the Holloway. And as you can see, I'm almost still speechless with this. This is all I will say here is Topuria comes in. Oliveira definitely looks bigger, right? And I thought, okay, he has a chance. We all picked Topuria, of course. But you go in, you see them in the octagon. Oliveira's 5'10", Topuria's 5'7". Oliveira definitely the bigger guy. And I gotta say, Oliveira looked good. He actually tried to grapple a little bit. It was funny. He went for a takedown. He let Topuria get top position, which I was kind of shocked by. Then they went back up, and he was kind of stifling Topuria a little bit. Topuria even landed a couple shots, and it didn't really seem like it was doing anything. And even Cormier or Rogan said, oh, wait, wow, his shots are not really landing. And right as you had any comfort, I was thinking in my head, wow, is Oliveira going to do it again? Boom, lights go out. A perfect 1-2 from the gym. So vicious. Looked like he was doing heavy bag work. It didn't even look like anything. It was so precise. And you realize, man, he was just feeling them out, kind of like Silva had done with Mitchell. He was feeling them out. He was just doing a couple lighter shots, and then boom. And I sat there just speechless for like a half an hour, because I just couldn't even believe no one has knocked out Oliveira like that. I mean, people have knocked him down. Gaethje knocked him down, and Chandler knocked him down. I think even Poirier did, and then they all ended up losing, right? No one has just finished him just like it was nothing, like 2 little bag shots, boom, boom, dead. It was unbelievable. And I gotta say, Topuria I now see it. Wally was wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it. He handled lightweight. He handled a great champ in Oliveira. He's one of the scariest fighters now in the entire world. Pound for pound, he's going to move up. He's never lost. I don't know if anybody pound for pound hits harder than he does. I will say, though, and I'll let you take over, I still think he's small for the weight class, and one day it's going to haunt him. One day he's going to have to go against an Islam or a big, great grappler, and then we'll see, okay, is this experiment too much? Because he still is a little bit undersized for the division. The last time someone 5'7" had the lightweight crown was Frankie Edgar many, many years ago, and no one's been able to recreate that. But Topuria seems to be the guy. He's now going to be a superstar. He's now going to be known as one of the greatest fighters in the world. Let me get your take, and then we'll look at what is next.
I'm floored by what we witnessed, and we did witness something historic last night with that fight, okay? For the reasons you said, we've never seen Oliveira go down like that. A legend go down in the way that he went down to an assassin that is Ilia Topuria, that we were witnessing here, one of the greats that we'll be thinking about and talking about, I think, for years to come. What happened was you look at Oliveira versus Topuria, and Oliveira did look bigger. Now, I will say, I believe that Ilia has a certain girth to him and a certain stockiness that I think is deceptive, the power in his legs and his core. So I do think he's got some strength there that you might be writing off because of his height. Okay. Oliveira did look pretty good early. It was just a couple of minutes. The fight was like 2.5 minutes. Okay. But what happened was Oliveira did what he was doing in those other fights versus those top lightweights, right? That we saw versus the Gaethjes for the Chandler, where he's coming forward. He's putting the pressure on. He seems like he's taking some shots and putting pressure. And you're like, whoa, this guy is dangerous. And this may not pan out so well for Ilia. But Ilia's composure in the moment and under fire, in that torque he has on his shot, his right, followed by the left hook, was just unbelievable to watch. It was a clinic almost, and he called it out. And we just have to say, I have never seen an MMA fighter exude such confidence going into the fight the night before, celebrating as if he'd already won it because he envisioned himself winning it. He called out how he would win the fight, and then he showed up and calmly delivered. And within 2.5 minutes, just got close enough. All he knew, I just need to get close enough in there, find my timing, and it's over. And that's what he delivered. And it has sent shockwaves. This will bring more fans to the sport. This is historic. He's now a double champ. Islam has moved up, but don't forget that fight will happen.
Let's look at this, baby.
Okay, that fight will happen some way or another, whether it's Islam coming down or him going up, it's going to happen. So, and then you have a slew of contenders in the lightweight that Ilia, now we want to see go through. So absolutely amazing.
Let's look at that, Nico. Now, of course, the website isn't updated yet. It's still Makhachev there, which is ridiculous. But by Monday, it will be. Okay, so let's think. Topuria now is the new lightweight champ of the world. And Georgia's behind him. All of Spain is behind him. The European fans worldwide to be able to dispatch of a great champion like an Oliveira and come up just so easy and beating Holloway and beating Volkanovski. More eyes are going to come on the sport like they did with Ronda and Conor and a lot of the Chuck Liddell and all those Tito and all those great stars throughout the years. I feel like this is going to be a big shift in the mainstream coming back over. But anyway, back to the division. It's going to be his name and his picture right at the top there. So I got to say, I think because of, even though Paddy is still considered the number 8 guy in the world, which is ridiculous after that unbelievable win, right? But he's only beat Chandler. So I think Dana makes the Paddy fight because they're in the business of making the biggest fights now. And that's what Topuria wants. And that's what Paddy wants. And it'll probably sell out the world. Okay, because it's so exciting. But if they're doing it correctly, it should be Arman or Justin. And Arman might be equipped with the most skills and skill sets to be able to deal with the Topuria because he's got unbelievable grappling to maybe try to use that against Ilia. And he's got good hands. But I have a feeling, this is my prediction, they book Paddy because it's the bigger fight. And that's what, sadly, UFC is becoming a little bit too much with these entertainment fights. So it becomes Ilia, Paddy, and then Arman fights Justin for the number 1 contender spot after that. I think that's what happens. What are your feelings there?
Now, I will say, you're probably right. The UFC is in the business of booking the best fight, the one with the most cachet, the one that'll explode the universe, literally. It will it would just be like goo goo gaga over this fight. And I think that's what they're going to do. Technically, it should be Cherukyan. or Gaethje. And I've talked about my feelings that I thought it should have been Gaethje. But Pimblett fight is so enticing. It's so cool. It's so ridiculously awesome.
And he's just as cocky.
Just the personalities of these two. They're coming in a different angle in the way they come about their cockiness. Patty's more flamboyant cocky, where, Ilia is a little bit more measured and just suave, and it's just an amazing fight. So I do agree with you. That's probably what we're going to see. And then we'll see Cherukhi and Gaethje. But is Gaethje really going to want to put himself up against Cherukhi, and is he just going to retire? I don't know.
Maybe. And then we're forgetting the obvious thing that Rogan and Cormier were saying last night is the UFC might just turn to Islam and be like, forget JDM, fight Topuria. Wow. And maybe Islam doesn't go up. Maybe he's like, all right, you know what? But if I'm Islam and I see that, maybe I am almost thinking Jon Jones a little bit. I'm like, I'll just go fight Jack Della, get my second belt so I can say I did what Ilia just did. Let those other crazies go after Topuria and watch it a little bit more. I know Islam's not scared of anybody, but after you watch that last night, any man might be shaking in their boots a little bit.
Because all he has to do is get close enough. All he has to do is get close enough for a hot second versus Islam, and he can put him out.
It's unbelievable.
Okay, so let's move on here. Let's take a quick break from our sponsors. Okay, and we are back to the show. Let's talk about Jon Jones fallout, Tom Aspinall. Obviously, Jones retired. We don't need to go into that whole thing. I already addressed it on the last episode, but what we're going to talk about is Tom Aspinall is now the heavyweight champ of the world. Finally, you've got your wish, Nico. I'm just relieved it's over. Yes, we wanted the fight, but let's just get the division moving on. Hats off to Tom. And to us, he's been the champ anyway for the past year. But what we're going to do, because this is what makes MMA Savvy so special, is we look at the divisions, baby. Right. Okay. So we're not going to do the deep analysis like we did before, not the whole historical heavyweight analysis. But since Jones is gone, yes, you still see Jones on there because the damn UFC app hasn't updated yet. But we're just going to look at this really quickly to give you all a sense of who we think Tom should get next. So before I do that, you got Tom now as the champ. Gane is the number one contender. You got Volkov right below it. Now, I'm going to give you some updates. Pavlovich, the number 3 contender in the world, he's already booked against Waldo Cortez Acosta. So at least there's some movement in Shanghai in August. So that's going to happen. The only other booking that you see in this entire division is Lewis versus Teixeira. Teixeira's a new undefeated guy. He's only had one UFC fight. I don't know him that well. That fight is actually happening in 2 weeks. Blades just beat Kuniev. Very close fight, though. So Blades now number 4. He's reset himself number 4 guy in the world. Kuniev now number 15 in the world. And then, of course, Almeida sitting there at number 5. So the rest of the guys I'm not concerned with right now. So the big question is, who does Aspinall get? And I'm thinking it's got to be Gane. I can't believe you don't agree, but we're going to get into that in a second. Aspinall, Gane, even though I feel like Volkov won that Gane fight, the judges didn't agree with me. So it has to be Aspinall, Gane in Europe somewhere because it's the Frenchman versus the Englishman. Don't forget about that old rivalry and European hatred there, Nico. Maybe in London or in Paris. That's the big fight to make. Have Volkov wait in the wings. He can weigh in as the backup because Pavlovich is already booked. Blades probably needs a little bit of a layoff because even though he got that win, he kind of got roughed up by Kuniev. And we're not going to be jumping for that fight because Aspinall already beat Blades, right? The only other guy that you might discuss is maybe Almeida. He did have that great comeback win against Spivak. He does have the grappling. He does have the hands, but he's still number 5 in the world. He's not going to leapfrog up. It's going to be Gane, and it's going to be Volkov fights Almeida. That's the fight that you make waiting in the wings. Pavlovich already booked now. Blades needs now a dance partner. That's what I'm saying. What do you say here?
Well, I think technically you are correct. The next in line by the book should probably be Cyril Gane. He's coming off the victory versus Volkov, but it was a very meh victory, okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't that strong. And Volkov doesn't deserve it because he just lost, right? And then you've got Pavlovich who got taken out by Aspinall, and the Blades' latest victory was not so impressive. So the reason I don't love the Gane Aspinall is because it's going to get compared with Jones gone. If Aspinall does not take out Gane in like the first round, I'm going to be hearing, oh, Jones took him out right away. And it wasn't, I just don't like the symmetry of that. I think right now, Gane, Volkov, Pavlovich, Blades, they're all not really strong, hands down contenders. Almeida has a little bit more upside. He's younger. He's exciting. So I just think it could certainly be Almeida, and that would not shock me that the UFC might do that. It could even be a more exciting fight, but I didn't take into account what you said, Ari, which was that rivalry, the France versus England.
That's the big thing,
That's going to be a big thing to drum up the viewership. And I think that's where we end up here. And let Aspinall Gane go, and let's see how that transpires. I'm a big Gane fan. I've always loved his rise. Though.
That's the fight to make, Nico. It's the best striker's delight. One thing I will say, not to cut you off here, but don't forget that Almeida also lost to Blades. That fizzled him. And yes, he came back and he beat a Spivak, but he needs to beat a top 5 guy now to get that back in my mind. He blew that fight against Blades, and the UFC will think about that. The other thing I want to say is what you're doing right now is you're citing the nonsense that Cormier and Chael said about, they're going to be looking, and if Aspinall doesn't beat Gane quickly, then there's going to be all these Jones people. I don't agree with that. It's like Jones left. If Aspinall takes longer to be Gane, whatever. They're both quality guys. I get that a little bit, but they're going to book Almeida. I'll put my vote on that right now.
And Ari, the last thing I'll say about the heavyweight division, we're at the end here, is that it's very interesting. There's not a lot going on in the middle of the pack and in the bottom end of the pack. There's not a lot that I'm looking at here in the heavyweight division that's saying to me, we've got some great contenders that are on the rise. There's some potential for some action. It's really all in that top 5, and even the top 5 kind of not in the same, in my opinion, league as Tom Aspinall right now. Tom Aspinall has sort of separated in my mind, but he needs to get a fight, because what happens to him has been an injustice to waste his prime years. So I had to get that in. Aspinall, the UFC should be paying him double the next 3 fights to make up for the loss of his prime years and his potential earnings. But I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad we're going to see this next fight for Tom Aspinall. I hope it gets booked soon.
Yeah, it's going to be booked. I'm guessing it's going to maybe be like the MSG fight, the November one. Think about now, actually, why wait? Why wait?
Get
it's
it
only
in.
June.
Get it in.
Let's get it earlier, but you never know. Okay. So I hope you guys love that. That's what makes Savvy so special. We do the divisional deep dives. Every time we come back, we're going to be looking at that. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. If you love these weekly episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, check out the old MMA Savvy videos on our page. You might see some videos pop up of UFC legends such as Fabricio Verdum, Ronda Rousey, Jon Jones. The old channel has been revived, and we couldn't be more excited. So please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast on all of our social channels. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.